2, 1, get 'em!
This week's episode is brought to you by Salt Creek, some of the best steel and TSS on the market, and Kicks Industries. The Smoke Series is my favorite. Welcome to this week's YouTube Live and the podcast. My name is RD. Welcome to the podcast room. I got a special guest with us today. So welcome to the podcast room. Mr. Steven, how you doing?
I'm doing well, brother. Thanks for the invite.
Oh, good. First time on. I'm glad to have a new guest on. We're talking deer hunting tonight. We're talking about deer dog hunting. What's changing? Just a talking point of some discussions that's going on in the state. First thing I want to say, I don't work for DNR, and I'm pretty sure, Steven, do you work for DNR? So we are not representing. We're not representing DNR. We're not trash talking. This is just a discussion. With that being said, we want to encourage comments and, just keep them respectful. So if anybody's tuning in, where you tuning in from? And glad to have you, Steven. Let's talk about some background because, other beginning of the week, neither one of us knew each other. And that's one good thing about hunting. The hunting community is a small community. And even though you're into deer and I'm into mostly anything with wings, we still got that one connection of hunting. We still can relate. And if some state representative is trying to take something from you, it could be something on the waterfowl scene or dove hunting or turkey for me. And, we all work hand in hand. So tell us something about yourself.
Well, I grew up dog hunting right here in the Low Country. Joined the military early, retired out the military,
Appreciate
back.
your service.
I was always told, thank you. I was always told that there wouldn't be no deer hunt when I got back. And by the grace of God, when I got back, fell right into a club and continued the tradition.
That's what I'm talking about. So where are you at in the state? I'm upstate. I'm in the big grand national state of Lancaster. So where you from?
I'm down in the Low Country. I'm in a little town called Bunno, just outside of Moncks Corner.
Down there with the mosquitoes.
Oh, biggest turkeys.
Ooh. Well,
oh yeah.
Maybe I should have came down there to turkey hunt. At least I would have saw something that looked like a turkey.
You know what? The club I lease, we got a world large set of turkeys. They're everywhere.
Don't be talking like that to me. I'll be done had to join. Y'all can have the deer. Just save me the turkeys.
Well, we do a lot of predator control. We get rid of a lot of coyotes, bobcats, any predators. We get rid of a lot of the ground nesting animals like your coons and possums and stuff because we like to keep the wildlife. So I do have a few turkey hunters that are successful, and but we have turkeys this year. I've seen a bunch of hens with a lot of babies, so I'm looking forward to a new next spring have a big, a whole nother hatchling of them. So it should be good.
That's good, and us turkey hunters appreciate that very much.
Yeah.
So how long you been hunting?
Gosh, I'm 43 years old. I probably started when I was 6, I guess, 5 or 6, riding around the back of Dad's pickup.
I heard that.
You know, my dad would set me and my brother down, and the dogs be running. He'd tell us, "Don't you move," and he would walk down the road and listen to that. But we just grew up listening to dogs and raising dogs, and for us, it was a lifestyle. It's not a pleasure thing. It's something that we live to do.
So you always lived in South Carolina?
No, my father was a commercial fisherman, so wherever the fish went, we went. So we eat a lot of catfish and a lot of deer meat, all over Florida, Tennessee, Alabama. But South Carolina was really always home, if you really wanted the gist of it.
I love some catfish stew. I ain't even gonna lie, man. Man, my mama made some mean catfish stew. I just, I love it. So how long have you been hunting with dogs? I know you said your daddy started it on
same amount.
Same amount.
When I was 4 or 5 years old, I can remember walking behind beagles on the yard, working rabbits, not knowing what was going on, but they were working, and I was just young, when my dad had a litter of pups when they was about 8 weeks old. They got their shots and they got turned loose in the yard. And we lived on 1 acre, but we joined a club that our house butted up to, so we had 10,000 acres that they could just
Wow.
roam. And you know, they had an old dog on the yard, and she took each one of them and trained them. And when they started bumping deer, we'd pin them back up. But until then, they just lived on the yard. And I can imagine. I'd say we come up just after Hugo hit, so I was probably 6 years old, something like that.
Yeah, I know Hugo. I know it very
Yep.
well. No power for probably 2-3 weeks, but
I
I
think that was
grew
about
up.
'89, I believe.
Yeah, it was. I grew up deer hunting too, so it was. I grew up. My father deer hunted, and that was all we hunted. Nothing
Yep.
else. I literally was in my late 30s, maybe last year of the 30s, before I got into waterfowl and turkey hunting, and financially I have not yet recovered. Uh, I always thought growing up. Now, I mean, I came from a small town to mill workers, and if you were a duck hunter or a turkey hunter, you pretty much had money, or at least that's
Right.
what I thought. Now I kind of understand why I didn't duck hunt because but we grew up deer hunting, and I never really enjoyed it as a kid, and I think it was, and I don't do this with my kids, but I think it was mostly the 80s. You
Hmm.
just go up in this tree stand and I'll be back when it's dark, and you always, when you ate, you scared. There wasn't no, I didn't know anybody that had double um tree stands. I didn't.
Right.
They were just single. I mean, they were made out of pipe conduit in the 80s, or 2x4s. So that's how I grew up, and I never really enjoyed deer hunting. Now I deer hunt just to pass the time between dove and waterfowl, but I usually take the kids because now I have a double, stand, and it's pretty cool to get them involved, and we hunt a lot out of a pop-up tent.
Right.
I do a lot of videos with tideweed, and man, them see-through blinds, oh my gosh, game changers. Um but something that's happening in the state is affecting hunters, and that's what
It
we're
is.
definitely going to be talking about tonight. But would you say you enjoy mostly hunting or working the dogs?
For me, it's about the dogs. I've sit in tree stands. I've killed 200-pound bucks. Many a bucks out of tree stand over 200 pounds. And in South Carolina and Low Country, that's a nice deer, especially if they don't have nothing but pine cones to eat. Um, I do get excitement about that, but taking a puppy that you watch be born, you help nurse it, got it at shots, spent the hours and hours training it to watch it do its job. It's
Mm,
almost like taking your son and watching him learn to field a ball or learn to hit his first home run. It's a thrill that you just can't explain to people who don't do it.
right.
Um, Maybe a bird dog, watching them make their first retrieve, watching them bring their first recall when you hit your whistle or however you recall your bird dog. It's just something you put the work in. You
Mhm.
did the time, you studied the breed, you made sure everything was right, and then you give that dog the opportunity to learn. And then watching it just click in their minds, it's unreal. It's a feeling, like watching your children get married or something. It's hard to explain this to people who don't understand, but it's really a thrill. It's an accomplishment, if you will.
So Chris Knight says facts on that, on your statement. Uh, I don't have a deer dog. I do have a bird dog. I got a Boykin Spaniel from the
Okay,
great state of South Carolina. Our Boykins. Exactly. I mean, she has that drive. I mean, just
I got a
drive.
buddy that raises those.
Oh my goodness. I mean, my wife was trying to take her as a house dog, but regardless, she has that drive
Hmm.
to hunt.
And to
And
see it in them is awesome.
so I think that's Denny Wayne. I invite you to come on a dog hunt in Bamberg. every Saturday we're recommending. I'd love to come on video. Most
Yep.
days, you know, like we were talking earlier, most days now, got to the age now, it's kind of like, if I pull the trigger, it's okay because, I'm in it for the friendship,
Yep.
the family, the time, and then the breakfast,
Well, I'm not gonna say we don't kill deer because we do, but our funnest days are family day when we
Right.
go hunt a little bit and then we all meet around the clubhouse and share stories and cook
Yeah,
and just have a great time, and
absolutely.
that's what I enjoy. I'm trying to bring my club back to what it was in the early 90s, late
Mhm.
80s, where you go to the hunting club and the camp to spend time with family and friends, and it's
Right.
not just hunt and leave. And I don't usher in the members who just want to be members to take from the club. I look for members who want to give back to the club and be part of something other than just come hunt and leave.
Right.
So at the Big Bay Hunt Club where I'm at, we try to focus on family first, and that's kind of our way of doing things.
Right.
It's almost a forgotten art in the dog hunting community nowadays.
Well, I think hanging out in general is a lost art. I mean, most of these kids never grew up cruising around town. Now they
Well,
hardly can carry on conversations because they do it by
the
messaging.
pace of life nowadays is so fast.
It is.
It's not like it used to be. Go sit on the riverbank and catch a little old catfish and just enjoy
Hmm.
yourself that evening. It ain't like that.
Exactly.
Now you got chores to do. You just the pace of life is picked up.
Yeah.
And
Hey, Matthew.
I for one would love to see it back down some.
Yeah. Chris says deer hunting with dogs is the best hunting world. My granddaddy started me hunting when I was 6. I'm 34 doing it in Williamsburg Big Dog Club.
I can't wait for some grandbabies. My daughters didn't really care for it, which they were born during my military years
Mhm.
and pretty much grown through my military. So I would come hunting on occasion, but it wasn't ingrained in them the way it was in me. So
Right.
I'm looking for some grandbabies so I can pass it on that way.
I
Hopefully
heard
some
that.
grandboys, but I'll accept any.
That's what I had to tell my wife too. I got 2 kids. It's not fair to buy a Browning and then the other kid not get one. So I gotta buy 2 because it's not fair when I die. One get one and the other one don't get one. So I have to have 2 of them.
Well,
That's
you need to start them off with the old 870s and make them earn their way up to a Browning.
that's what my son said. He's like, I want a Browning. I'm like, you gonna get this. You gonna get this Beretta over here that's a 20 gauge. And I'm like, what the heck? You still getting a $100 gun? What the heck?
Yeah.
Now I shoot for
The old
retake, but
Wingmaster. Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
But
That's good stuff.
so I'm gonna ask this question to start with before we start talking about DNR. What would be a misconception people think about when they hear deer dogs and hunting?
Well, my biggest misconception, and when I took over my lease, I went to every landowner around me, and I met everybody and created a relationship with them.
Mhm.
And luckily, there's clubs in my area prior to me, so they knew what hunting was about.
Right.
But the biggest misconception I see is people who didn't grow up around it, people who don't know about it. They believe that most your dog hunters are these just redneck, low IQ, unintelligent individuals. And that's a misconception they don't have. A lot of them don't want to come to the table because they feel like they're not going to be speaking to somebody who can articulate words and form sentences.
Right.
And unfortunately, I don't know where that misconception has come from, but unfortunately, that is the misconception that's out there. And another one is they think that we all of us just want to be renegades, if you will, and we don't have control of our hounds. And the vast majority of us can control our hounds better than those folks can control their children.
That's probably
You know,
true.
yeah, it is true.
Yeah.
With a little bit of time and a little bit of effort, I can make that hound do anything I want him to do. No different than a show dog, no different than anything else. Um, I have four hounds that are retired in my house, and they're the best house dogs I've ever had.
Mm.
And I've had everything from the Boykins to Australian Shepherds to Pit Bulls, and those hounds are the best house dogs I've ever had. Um, it's a misconception that all of us just want to, you know, break the rules and do as we please. That's a big misconception where we get painted by the same brush as your nuisance guys.
Right. You think, and I know it's on the talking point down at the bottom of what I said I was going to talk about is technology.
Sure.
Do you think, and I think it could be what you were talking about, misconception of the old days. Let's just go back to we ain't even gonna go back to the 80s. Let's just say 90s. You know, back
Right.
then they didn't have tracking collars like they have now. Like now, you can say, okay, my dog's 200 yards away, my dog's 150 yards, like never move. I mean,
Yep.
honestly, we probably can just go back 10 years and we didn't have that technology. Most of the time, I don't know what y'all would call them dogs, but the big antennas on the dash and, you know, holding
Yeah.
them out the window.
They're telemetry
That's
collars. It's the
right.
same thing that the wildlife conservationists use to track bears and stuff.
Right.
They're just straight telemetry collars. They give you a direction.
Right.
Now they do have a signal for distance, but it's
Mhm.
not down to the pinpoint that you're speaking of.
Like you saying, you know, it's going to become a matter of time that you could train your dog to be able to basically hold a handheld and say, "Hey, Fred, stop and come back."
Yeah,
I mean, it's going to take
right,
time to train. I know that dog ain't going to break his train of thought, but over time
right.
training, that is technology that wasn't something years ago.
The the biggest thing you want to do, just as in bird dogs, a dog has a prey drive. At least anyone that's worth the salt in his food.
Hmm.
You have to override that prey drive with his ability to listen to you.
That's right.
So um, that's all it is. And I was talking to Lonnie Miller. He's the president of the Alabama Dog Hunter Association. He had posted a video a few years back that it shows how to whistle break and tone break your dogs. And the whistle is used for recall.
Hmm.
The tone, it just tells the dog stop what you're doing and listen to me.
Yeah.
And the whistle then tells him direction to come back, and it works phenomenal.
Absolutely. Even our dogs here, you know, they can tell come here or stop
Hmm.
versus when you yell, I said stop. My boy can
Yep.
will she will be after something and I say, I said stop.
Yep.
Oh, he used his big boy voice. But you know,
If you spend enough time with your dogs, they pick up that inflection in your voice. You're absolutely right.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Yep,
I
that's
do
true.
think that could be a misconception too, that older technology
Mhm.
and you're on my land versus now we got Onyx. Hey, this is Fred's land or this is so and so's land that I have permit. We got a whole lot more technology that I think
Well,
some people don't
the
understand too.
majority of the land issues come from not necessarily clubs that are surrounded by navigable areas like roads all the way around, if you will.
Hmm.
It's the landowners who have property that butts up the other property that have a right of way that's wooded and you can't get back there. And that's it's almost impossible to stop a dog. I ain't gonna say it's impossible because I've seen it done. But if a dog is in the wooded area,
Hmm.
he's crossing a property line, and you can't physically get in front of him, it's tough. It's really tough. But I do know hunters who can hit that button and that dog will stop and come back.
Hmm.
Um, it's phenomenal at what they do. But that creates a pretty it creates a area. I don't want to call it a no zone, but it creates an area where you just can't physically get there and stop those dogs. And that might be what's going to be the issue. Is I've heard rumors that they may try to push for the property, no matter the size, has to have 360 degrees of navigable access, so you can stop your hounds. Because the majority of people can stop their hounds. They
Right.
really can. Especially nowadays. Years ago, like you talk about, I have a buddy. He's in his 80s now. His philosophy is the world to hold him. He turns them loose, and wherever they go, they go. But that's changed over the years. He's learned to stop his dogs. But he grew up in a time where Berkeley County, the only folks that lived there owned the property there and knew everybody.
Hmm.
So you could start running a dog on one side of the county, and you might kill a deer on the other side of the county 5 properties later, and no one worried about it because they all knew each other.
Oh yeah.
But now with all the fluctuation of outsiders and people coming to Berkeley County, the rapid growth of Berkeley County is exploding,
Yeah,
and we have
it's everywhere in South
but
Carolina. It's everywhere
it
in South
is
Carolina. You know, when I was young, it wasn't uncommon. You could reach out easily and know some farmer that had 100 acres. Now, I- maybe
yep.
a handful of 100 acres. I mean, you'd be surprised to even see 30 and 40 acres these days because it's gone.
When I grew up in Berkeley County, I went right here to Berkeley High School. At 9 o'clock at night, you could drive through Monk's Corner and you didn't see a car. If you
Mm-hmm.
broke down, you were messed up until daylight. Now you can't even get on the road without getting run over. You
That's
know,
true.
it has grown that much. When I
Yeah.
retired and come home, I said, "Holy world, this thing has changed." You know,
Yeah.
my idea of paradise when I retired and go home isn't paradise no more. I'm trying to find something else. I'm looking to move further out and further out. You know,
So DNR has been having
mhm,
meetings, and obviously it's mostly geared to the deer hunters. And I had to say, I have griped in the past before, uh, especially on the waterfowl side of, hey, DNR is going to have a where you can come give questions, but it's only Monday through Friday from 8 to 5, and your regular Joe Blow that works 8 to 5 can't go. So how
yep.
fair is that? Now, if I'm
It
not,
definitely seems like it's pointed towards the people who actually participate can't be there.
I agree. I
Um,
agree. No,
I
and
don't know if that's right, but that's how it seems.
it seems that way. Now I know that the men that wear the green pants that we call green pants, I know they put in. I know a good many of them, and they put in
Me
more than
too.
40 hours a week, and they got a
Hmm.
family just like I got a family, and I.
Yep.
But it is hard for the regular guy that needs that wants to come and participate can't. So
Yep.
what are these meetings they having?
So I haven't attended one yet. I've spoken to my group, and we're going to attend the Walterboro one on August the 10th. But I've watched every one of them, and basically it's an open forum so that concerned citizens via dog hunters, still hunters, or landowners can come voice their opinions.
Mm-hmm.
The idea is to generate a um, list or a query of the concerns and return back to the General Assembly to make something happen. Um, I've spoken with several people. I had a podcast the other night on Army Orange with Chad Fuller. He's one of the litigators for the Private Property Alliance of South Carolina, and he's one of the ones driving this. But he's not pushing to end dog hunting. They're pushing for dog hunters to respect property rights, and that's where we're having a little misconception here because a lot of people are scared that if you give up anything, it's going to be a slow trickle and more is going to come behind. And I mean, I understand their fears because my father, the commercial fisherman, it started out with a little bit of hook here or a little bit there. And now you hardly can make a living commercial fishing on a lake that used to sustain 20 families that commercial fished. Um, so I get it. But all it is, and a lot of people on Facebook and social media is trying to twist this dog hunters versus still hunters, but it's really not. It's property owners are tired of people crossing on their property, trespassing on their property. And I'm not referring. I'm speaking mainly to deer hunting because coon hunters and stuff like that. Their dogs don't tend to leave property. It's usually dog hunters chasing deer that tend to go a long ways. And they're using these loopholes like the Retrieval Act or the you can't harm a dog as loopholes to turn their dogs loose, and it's really creating a divide amongst the landowners and the dog hunters. But it's not a dog hunter versus still hunter; it's property owners. It doesn't matter if the man's raising cattle, if the man's raising sheep, or just kids. He has a inherent right to his property and to have privacy on his property without hounds interfering with him.
Mm-hmm.
And another issue that comes up is your hunters and your landowners don't even know each other until there's a conflict.
That's right.
There needs to be, Mr. Todd. Edwards of Army of Orange. He says a sweet tea and cake can solve a lot of problems if
It
you just
can.
sit down and talk. Um, Go meet your neighbors, talk to them, see what their concerns are. But that's what it's coming down to. Is there's a lot of renegade nuisance hunters that are causing problems for those of us trying to do right. And they're not talking about the ones and two accidents because Garmin's and GPS. I mean, you're talking technology. It has problems. There's going to be days where there's dead spots, you lose track of your dog's collar dies, or for some reason, another member in a hunting party has a conflicting number with yours, and they mess up. They do that because you can only put 20 something collars in a Garmin
Mm.
before it interferes.
There's only
And
so many
there's
frequencies.
right, and so those small things happen, but that's not what's being addressed. They're not looking for the ones and twos. They're looking for the habitual problems and trying to come up with a solutions that suits everybody. I know they've been in contact with the Sporting Dog Association of South Carolina, and I'm sure they're working to help. And there's something's going to change. I don't know what, but it can't continue to be the way it is because there's too many people bought up too much property, and unfortunately, it's become an issue for the dog hunters. And you know, it does it suck? Absolutely, absolutely, it sucks because it's constricting what you can do. But that gentleman that owns that property has a legal gripe when it comes to his property.
That's
Be
right.
no different than me coming in your backyard and doing something. And when you come out to your house, I tell you, get back in the house. I'm shooting squirrels in your yard. It's just
Hmm.
it's there's a I hate to say it, but if this goes any further or it goes in front of litigation, the property owner is going to have the right of way. I mean, it's just the way it is. So it's best that we come together and find a solution for this, that
Yeah.
fits all parties. And that's
Yeah.
what Mr. Chad Fuller's trying to achieve.
That's like what you said. Hey, if I get to know Bob, and
Hmm.
now it ain't like 10 o'clock at night, but like say 7 o'clock,
Yep.
8 o'clock. Hey, Bob, my dogs are on there. Do you mind if I whatever? He'll like, oh yeah, Stephen,
Yep.
go on over there. You know where the gate is. You know,
Right.
had that. Hey, this is the gate you use. This is how you lock it back, and
Yep.
had them community outreach thing. But like you said,
Now,
this day and age, you'd be scared to let somebody come on because they might trip and fall over a root and then sue you.
yep. And unfortunately, there are those kind of people. But see, I have landowners that live beside my property, and they ride horses. So
Mm-hmm.
I went to them. I said, "Hey, I seen them on camera." So I run them down and said, "Listen, I don't mind you riding your horse on the property during the off season.
Mm-hmm.
During deer season, it's unsafe.
Right.
However, I need you to sign this waiver. If your horse throws you, I don't want you suing me, but I still want to grant you access to this property because you are a neighbor and you watch over the property when I'm not here. So it's nice to lend those olive branches and in return get them back.
Absolutely.
Um, Another guy that works here on some property we tend to, butt up to. He's a still hunter. He has kids over there to still hunt for the kid. I forget what they call it. The Field of Dreams, I think it's called.
Mm-hmm.
And he asked us, "Hey, when this is going on, would you mind deer hunting on the other side of your property?" Sure. I mean, great neighbor. With anything you can ask, we can accommodate that.
Right.
But if the kid shoot a deer, he calls me. "Hey, you got a dog?" "Absolutely, I'm on my way." That's just the way it's a partnership. Now, I know there are those landowners out there who just do not want to come to the table. They don't want you on their driveway. They don't want to come to the road and speak to you. They don't want a relationship with you. And as evil as it is, that's still their right. You
Mm-hmm.
still have to respect that property. And unfortunately, that's not always met with gracefulness.
That's right.
But
So, what are some of the biggest challenges probably facing today? Just the landowners.
as far as the landowners are concerned, it's the property's going away.
Right.
Um, and as the property goes away, it forces us into right on into rural areas,
Mm-hmm.
and right on into the towns, and people are seeing you more on the side of the road. And a lot of these folks are out of towners, so that's a challenge. They don't understand what's going on. They're moving down to an area that's done this whole life, and they see this. Oh my word, what is going on here? People line up beside the highways with shotguns. This can't be right. And it for somebody who hasn't seen it or done it, it's foreign to them.
Right.
So that's one of the challenges. Another one is just getting everybody on board, getting the dog hunters to understand that this is a problem that we have created. Yes, the landowners come down and bought land in the middle of my hunting club, but he still owns that land. Yes, he should have some type of expectation management when you buy property beside a dog hunting club or even a still hunting club. There's going to be hunting there, and you still chose to buy that property. So there is an expectation management there. But in the grand scheme of things, since day one, the property owner is always right. Kind of like Burger King. You have to respect him.
Yeah,
So the
that's
challenges going forward is the less amount of land versus more dogs, I guess. And some of the proposals is open up the game management areas for us. Put us out in the middle of the national forest, away from everybody, outside, out of mind. It don't have to be every day, but maybe every weekend, so that we are out of town. We're away from the property owners. We're away from the still hunters. That may be an option, and that's something that's being proposed. Even when the national forest is open for dog hunting, not all the units are open. It's
right.
just a few. So
Right.
all of us try to bombard in there and camp the night before to try to get places, and now we're all on top of each other. Property owners are seeing this. They're both sides of the roads are lined with hunters, and it's creating a whole nother divide and a whole nother talking point. One
When
thing, go ahead.
when I hunt hickory top down there at Santee, when I pull out a hickory top,
Yeah.
uh, there's a club, I don't know, a couple miles down the road, and they're always on the road early waterfowl season, and they're
Mm-hmm.
always hunting. And that's what you're talking about. They're lining up the road. You see them. It would, I see it and wave because I know what they're doing. But for somebody
Right.
that would be out of state, be like, man, why is that guy standing beside the road with a shotgun?
Yeah.
You know,
What in the world's going on?
right?
And DNR has a website that you can go on and you can make comments towards this forum, and you don't even have to be a South Carolina resident.
Yeah,
So
that's
to
not
these
fair.
people, that are up here in Illinois that don't understand dog hunting because they
Mm-hmm.
can track a deer, they don't have briars, they don't have the swamps like we have. To them, this is foreign, and oh my lord, that needs to be outlawed. When
Right.
you come down here in the swamp down here, and let me see you track a deer through the woods and spot and stalk one. If you ain't turned off by the mosquitoes, the water hawk is gonna get you. You know, it's a misconception that they just don't have because they've never done it. And the state they've lived in has always been outlawed and had a black eye.
Mhm.
Oh, that's not right. You shouldn't do that because weren't raised around it. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And
Same thing
like
with other stuff.
you saying, open up game management. Oh my God, they got, I don't even know how many hundreds of thousands of acres. They could,
Oh, million acres.
yeah, a lot. Now,
Mm-hmm.
I would agree to that, and I kind of like that. But I see it happen, and the same thing that I don't want to happen to me as a waterfowl person is they make it, "Oh, okay, well, that sounds good. We're going to do it on a Monday." Well, yeah, how's a blue collar guy going to do it on a Monday? They'll do it just like North
Not.
Carolina that says, hey, you can't hunt on Sunday. Well,
Yep. I don't
that's
believe
not,
you can hunt our national forest on Sunday either.
you can't. And, game
Yep.
management either. But, that you can't say, hey, you're limited to this space, but you can only do it on a Monday. That's not
Yeah,
fair
I'm
for
not
the
a
working man. I don't like that.
that's who's going to be using the sport as the working man. But
I
I'm
agree.
not a national forest hunter. I grew up in a time when they had a black eye, people were doing bad things, and
Mhm.
it's just always had a spot in my heart that I don't do it. And I'm also fortunate enough to have my own lease with my own members.
Right.
Another thing is I don't take my hounds to places I don't know, so I don't hunt the national forest for that particular reason. I don't know if I'm stepping in somebody else's mess. You know what I mean?
Oh,
So
you
I stay
got
on my property.
absolutely game management around here. You could be in the middle of a gallery, like a
Yep.
big old hole, or you
Oh, yeah.
know,
Yep.
I mean, there was a lot of
My
mines and a lot of blue granite pulled out.
Right. Well, my buddies, they love it, and they kill
Mhm.
plenty of deer, and they have a ball. But I'm a little weary of it, so I try
Mhm.
not to go as much as they. I have been. Don't get me wrong, and I get to meet new people sometimes early, and that's another issue. Is early in the season, your guys from South Carolina or from Florida and Georgia, their season haven't opened yet.
Right.
So when our national forest opens, they bombard that. It's holy Lord, you go up there and there's nothing but out of state stuff. And don't get me wrong, I enjoy meeting nice people, but if we've already got an issue,
Yeah.
now we're compounding it.
Yeah.
And that's some stuff that's being addressed or it's being brought in front of the forum.
Well,
A lot
you've
of
been
the
around long enough to remember deer season and stuff. They all had zones. They all didn't come in at the same time. But now it's just, hey, it's going to be this date
Yep.
for everybody.
Well, some of the areas we dog hunt, I don't know the cutoff. I know it's one of these bridges or rivers. It don't open till later,
Mhm.
but it. I don't know what the right answer is. I'm telling you what I do know, but I don't know the right answer to all this because you can't stop out of state. Out of state brings in so much revenue
So
to the
much money.
state. When you talk finances, it's they're just not going to do it. And I get it, and I don't want them to do it because I might like to go to their state.
Yeah.
But what do we do? Open up more areas? Open up, you know what I mean? Make it. It's a tough thing that they have to finesse here because the still hunters, in my not what limited bit of knowledge I have to this, still hunters can use the national forest all year except for the days that are open for dog days. And I think there's 11 to 13, something like that, and with only one of them being a doe day, that dog hunters can actually use that property. And you're talking, well, we got 4 months of the season.
Mm-hmm.
It's
It's like one of the longest seasons ever.
it
And then
is.
me as a turkey hunter get 4 weeks.
Well, I wish you wouldn't get that, but that's just me.
Oh my goodness. Where's my cancel button? Where's my mute button
I
at?
like I
He
like.
didn't say that.
I'll tell you why I don't like it. The DNR will not let me corn my deer during turkey season, and that aggravates me to no end.
Yeah.
And the reason being is my does are starting to drop their fawns at that time, and if there's no food on the property, they're going to go somewhere else, and wherever they find that food is where they're going to raise that baby, and
Absolutely.
that's
And
why it just chaps my gears as turkey hunting.
and that
But
rule
I have turkey members, and that's what it is.
and that rule
Yep,
says if there's one drop of corn on
that's
that
right.
1,000 acres,
Right.
it is baiting.
Yep.
Ask me
Yep.
how I know.
Yep.
I
Yep.
know I fell into that myself. I understand that. But
My members, I tell them ahead of time. Listen, if you want a turkey hunt, we got to get some food plots in and get it done so
yeah.
these deer have something. We got to do what we can do because I don't like, and I understand turkey hunting. I know people love it. People go full over it. But the fact that my does don't have nothing to eat during that time, it just drives me up the wall. But
But
it is what it is.
I
It's a give
am
and take.
I am glad that they're having these meetings. Now, are they having this
Yep.
meeting for a puppet show? Maybe. Are they actually
That's
going to
that's
listen
the
to the people?
thing.
Like you said, it's going to be. I would not want to be the one to have to make that decision because
No.
you're going to
And,
make.
yep.
Politicians don't like making either side unhappy because they get backlash, and
It
that's
would
going to
be
be hard to
almost
do.
better. It would be so much better if we could come together with a solution,
Hmm.
present it to them instead of them dictating it down.
Yeah,
Kind of like when I had soldiers and they come to me with a problem, y'all figure it out. If not, Daddy will. And if
yeah,
I have to, you're not gonna like how it works. And
yeah,
so because it's gonna seem unfair on either side.
yeah.
But I'm like you. Anytime they get involved, I don't know what's gonna happen. And
And
is it
if
a puppet show? I don't know. I see some comments saying, "Hey, they already know what they're gonna do. They're just making you feel like you have a voice," and that could be so.
and
I
even
would
if
like to
they
think that it's not, but
even if they do make a decision that says, "Hey, we're only going to do dogs one day a week," and then 2 years from now they decide, "Hey, that was a bad idea," to go back and fix a mistake takes
yep.
twice, if not three times more work, more time to go back to something else. It's hard to redact something. So
I'm
I hope they
I'm
get it
hearing
right.
anything I'm hearing anything from you're going to have X amount of acres to dog hunt, continuous acres, not 5 acres here, 10 acres here. I'm hearing anything from the way Georgia does it, where you got numbers on your hounds, and if your hounds are caught trespassing, those numbers get registered, and after one or two, 3 times, you lose your rights. I'm hearing all kinds of different worst case scenarios. Um, I don't think in my heart that they're going to do away with dog hunting. I think there's going to be some heavier litigations on the fines when you're caught doing what you shouldn't be doing. Um, I think I've heard as much as they're going to treat trespassing or habitual trespassing as if it was poaching, where you may lose your gun, you may lose your truck, you may go to jail. I've heard things like that, and this is just stuff that's being proposed. It's not nothing it's in the works that I
Right.
know of. Um, Trying to find a common ground amongst the three people, your still hunters, your private property owners, and your dog hunters, is going to be one of the toughest things these guys probably ever do in their tenure.
Mhm.
Um, how do you do it? Now, a lot of people I see say, well, have the forestry companies that we lease our property from come speak. You can do that, but the forestry company really don't care who leases it. Because
They
if you
just
don't, somebody else will.
they just making money
You know,
off of the
you're,
land
you're,
rent and the trees.
you're paying their taxes, you're
Yeah.
keeping up their roads, you're doing them a service, but it don't have to be a dog hunter.
Yeah.
It can be turkey hunters. It can be out of state, which actually buys up a lot of our leases, especially south of Waterboro.
Hmm.
Everything down that way, I ain't gonna say everything. A lot of the majority of leases are bought up by out of state hunters.
Yeah, because South
So,
Carolina is known for nice white-tailed deer. I mean, it is
yeah,
not. When I started the podcast and hunting YouTube, people like, you gonna talk about duck hunting in South Carolina? Like that died in the '80s in Santee. Like, you know, we don't have ducks in South Carolina. We do. They're very.
you do.
You got to work for it. You got to work
I
for it.
got wood ducks in my ditches.
Right. They're there. And that's the
Mhm.
reason why I created this podcast and YouTube. You know, I want to shine, make South Carolina shine. I mean, I want to point
Yeah.
out stuff and build up the community and stuff. You know, I talk about that
I'm
all
gonna
the time.
I'm gonna do the
Well,
same thing with our club. We're gonna try to open a podcast on Sundays to talk about the Saturday hunting and just try to get the word out that we're not all bad people.
so that
We're
that
not
leads
all
up
low IQ people.
that
Go
leads
ahead.
up to my next question. Do you think better communication could solve these problems? And one way, okay, what you just said, talking
Yep.
about it, you know,
Education.
education. But you know, other states, and this is that it's a slippery slope either way. Some states, when you got Onyx, you can see the person who owns that land's telephone number.
Yep.
Like in the days of the telephone book is long gone. It is hard to get because people don't have landlines and they change cell phones so much. It's hard to get somebody's contact information. Like
Yep.
it
Yep.
would be
The telephone
nice
book.
if we could have phone numbers in Onyx that we could call to communicate with the, hey, can I come meet with you, talk to
Yep.
you? But on the other hand, how many times would the homeowner get bombarded? Hey, this is so and so. Can I come hunt? No. Can I come hunt? No. Can I come do this? Can I
It's
come
private
fish?
information, and it's private information. We're trying to get
Yeah.
it public. I see exactly what you're saying.
It's
The
both
last time I
sides.
seen it, the last time I seen a telephone book, it was boosting up a child at a barbershop getting his hair cut.
Yeah, and
But
it was probably more ads than it was.
yeah, these I know what you're saying, and that is part of the litigation I see people talking about is how do we create a retrieval process in the event that a dog is off property,
Mhm.
and that's something that needs to come along. Do you contact DNR? Do you? But I mean, obviously, if you know your neighbor, you'll contact them
Right,
directly. But
right.
the whole point is there needs to be some type of process
Mhm.
that can for legal retrieval because you don't
Right.
want to trespass on a man's property. All you can do is upset him.
That's right.
And in the days of these cell cameras, you can't step foot on somebody's property out of knowing it.
Yeah,
And not that you want to do the backdoor thing, but you're going to upset the guy.
exactly.
So, and how many times do you have to call DNR before DNR starts writing you tickets? They're not going to do it as a courtesy too
No.
often.
And
So
then
so
and
there
if
needs to
you
be
and if you did do that
some.
and you had to call them, well, guess what? That's going to require more
Yeah,
DNR officers, which in
yeah.
return going to make some other license go up because there's got to be some kind of
Well,
it ain't going to pay for themselves, so it's going to come back to the hunters and a
one of the things
license.
I addressed that I talked about with Chad, I'm not opposed to paying a registration fee. And a lot of people say, well, Steve, you got money. Steve, you got land. If you pay a registration fee to be a dog hunter and register your property, register your dogs, now DNR can take that and afford to have more officers
Mhm.
to help police this stuff, help make sure that the noble and honest hunter is being taken care of, and they're actually policing these bad guys.
And that
I'm not opposed to
exactly
that.
exactly what you just said almost is the exact same thing that goes on in Oklahoma and what they talking about in Texas, where these out of state people are coming in to set up waterfowl and charging people to come hunt, and they don't have a license. Like
Wow.
they don't even have the state doesn't require it to have a license, and they want the state to say, hey, make it a commercial license, and they have to have insurance, that recoup, like what you're saying. Hey, if you
Yep.
register the dog, that's going to afford money, but also keep the people that keep
Yep.
breaking it. I mean, it
Hmm.
makes sense.
I even proposed that because the gentleman I spoke to, he is obviously is a lawyer. He had represented. He's a defense attorney, so he represented several motorcycle accidents who had hit deer dogs, and they had hit them at I guess a high rate of speed because they were severely injured. I don't know the
Mhm.
logistics. He couldn't say it because I guess there was an NDA. I don't know, but the bottom line was I even said, well, how about we register our properties with South Carolina Department of Transportation and maybe put out like a school zone. Not as a school zone, but have somebody drop, let them know we're in the area.
All right.
Slow down. Um, Everybody's asking for compromise, but nobody really wants to give on either side. I'm not saying that I want you to slow down, but had there been one, you had the motorcycle accident. Yeah, they'll say, well, if your dogs weren't in the road, I get that too, and I do believe a dog hunter is responsible for his animal, 100%. No
Yeah.
different than my kid stealing something from the store. That's on me.
But if
So
they do cut, let's just say they go to the stream and just cut it out. Well, that's
yeah,
also going to hurt the deer population, not as in hurt the deer population, as in there's going to be less deer, there's going to be more deer, which in return makes everybody's car insurance goes up
right. It's
because the deer hunters across the board, deer hunters, bow, gun, rifle, dog, whatever, keep our insurance down because of the deers.
well, you can credit that to the dog hunter. I know the still hunters kill their fair share, but
Mm-hmm.
the dog hunter kills way more. It's not even it's apples and oranges. A lot of your still hunters shoot that one early season doe, and
Mm-hmm.
then they're waiting to see that big buck all year.
Yeah.
And that's great. I love it for you. But dog hunters, I ain't gonna say they're meat hunters because a lot of us in my club we don't shoot every deer, but traditionally they're gonna kill more deer.
Right.
They're just it's just gonna happen, and that keeps the population in check. It keeps the deer out the highways. I mean, not 100%, but it does keep the insurances down, like you're saying. It also keeps the farmers from filing insurance on their crops that the deer eat up all the time,
Yeah.
which again keeps their crop rates down.
Yeah.
You know, I shoot deer up in Orangeburg for a farmer, and he shows me every year. My goodness, they just decimate his crops, and he has to
Mhm.
file insurance on those crops just to keep going.
Yeah.
And DNR gives him 10 lousy tags to kill 10 deer out these fields. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I killed 10 deer before the time's up the first night.
I haven't got
You know,
my deer license in the mail, but I saw where people were talking about, they're trying to push for extra doe. Hey, it was kind of like a reminder of, hey, do you know you could get extra doe tag? Like they're trying to get hunters to take more does
Right.
But then
Right.
on the
I
other
agree.
hand, it's kind of like,
Yep. We haven't shot a doe on our property in 3 years, other than I think a spouse or two might have shot one early on. Um, but we're trying to grow it back. But if you don't start taking does off your property, especially these managed properties, it's going to be overrun. It really will be. I mean, and believe it or not, more does does not mean more bucks.
right.
More does mean that buck doesn't have to travel as far
Yeah.
to satisfy his ancestral needs.
Mm.
So you're not going to see him as like you would if you had less does.
Yeah.
That's a misconception people don't understand either.
his room to move is a whole lot smaller.
Yeah, you don't have to.
Yeah.
You know.
Yep.
But it's a give and take. I hope DNR gets it right. There were some very good testimonials said during the meetings. There's a lot of children stand up and spoke. There was a lot of members talked about their kids and what would they have to do if there was no dog hunting. But again, they're not trying to take dog hunting. Will they go to that extreme? It's possible, but I don't think so. But there was a lot of testimonials that talked about the dog hunters coming together, donating money to help this guy with his disease or this cancer, and there's a lot of good in the sport. There really is. And whether it's fox hunting, deer hunting, rabbit hunting, coon hunting, hog hunting, everybody just wants to be respected on both sides.
Right.
And I don't know what the fix action is going to be. I have no idea. I hope and pray that it continues, and maybe some people criticize me for making videos or posting videos of how we do things because it's giving the anti-hunter this. Well, it's also educating them on what we do. Sometimes when they see it more often, it becomes normal to them. Right now, it's abnormal. They don't understand how I shoot a deer down, drag it down the road, put it in the back of the truck, and they think their groceries just come from the supermarket.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that's a stigma that we got to break. That people have to understand that, beef didn't just pop up at Piggly Wiggly.
Right.
That cow was raised, was farmed, was killed, butchered, and packaged to make it to your table, and fed God knows how many hormones. I read somewhere the other day that chickens, from the time they're hatched, 7 days of full-grown chickens in the store.
That's crazy.
I couldn't believe that.
Yeah, because they grow so fast and so fat that they have to. If not, their legs break.
Yep, they pump them full of so many hormones. And those of us, you shoot, waterfowl, doves, and ducks and stuff, and I like deer meat. I donate a lot of deer meat to local areas, food banks, and what do you call it? The Boy Scouts when they want to, because every year the Boy Scouts have this thing where they want to eat wild game, so we donate deer meat to that. It's a brotherhood, no doubt, and we try to take care of the community, but we have a black eye that we really need to repair. We really need to repair it. And it starts with respecting the neighbor.
Right.
Bottom line, respecting your neighbor. And
it's
some
sad,
neighbors,
like you said, a lot of people don't know their neighbors.
Yeah, and a lot of neighbors don't want to be known, and
Yeah,
that's a conflict that has an issue, and I don't know how you resolve that, because if the neighbor doesn't want to come to the table, I don't know. I really don't. I spoke with a senior friend of mine the other day. I call him a senior. He ain't that senior, but he had a great idea putting up a fence around your property. Hunting property, not necessarily a 6-foot fence, just something to keep a dog in or slow him down. A 4-foot fence, or maybe the timber company, instead of running their timber all the way to the edge of the highway, cut it back a fire line so that we're not on the side of the highway. Will they do that? I don't know. In my understanding of timber company, if you start making demands, you get booted. Because the still hunter that's coming in behind you don't need that fire line.
Right.
So that was his suggestion, though. And if you have hot crossings where deer cross, it don't take much, because the deer, they will cross other areas, but most deer historically run the same paths that their ancestors run, that they run yesterday, that they run tomorrow. You can cut that timber company or that timber to the ground. It can grow back up in 10 years, and those deer will run the same path that they did when before it was cut.
Just like
It's
geese,
hard.
they come right back to where they were breeding grounds, and
Yep.
it's the same
Yep.
over
Salmon
and
the same
over.
way.
Yep.
And
Yep.
it wouldn't hurt to put a 50-foot fence up where you think deer crossing your public areas, to stop the dogs, or at least break them down a little bit.
Mhm.
But Monday night, I'm on a podcast with Lonnie Miller, and we talk about this, or we're going to talk about it. But these alpha collars, they are phenomenal, but they're only as good as the person using it.
That's right.
If he does not know how to use it, and I was one of them. I was always afraid to hurt my dog, to shock my dog, to teach him discipline. I was always, trying to fill a gap where he come out of the woods like a linebacker, because I tackle him if I had to keep him from crossing. And but once you learn that Garmin, it's amazing what it'll do. And I equate it to, it does take a little bit of hunt out of the dog. I don't care what nobody tells you. If that dog is bumped, shocked, or toned every time he gets to a road, when he gets there, it takes a little hunt out of him. He calms down. I equate it to a kid on with ADHD. We love how hyper they are and how enthusiastic they are about things. But you give them that little bit of medicine, you bring them down a little bit, and they become a better overall person. And they learn. They become pillars of the community because they can understand and comprehend things. A dog's the same way. Once you get inside that brain and you get that prey drive to where that's second to my commands, then you got him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's hard to explain it. It's more easy to teach it, but that's what it has to happen. These dogs, they got such a drive. It's almost like they get tunnel vision when they're on a deer. And I'm talking, they don't hear you, they don't see you. I've had them leave footprints on my back when they come over me, you know. And that Garmin, it's a lifesaver, and it really can save our sport if we start doing it right.
So we've been on almost an hour. So I know we're getting closer towards the ends here. What are some of the other meetings that's coming up, and where do you see South Carolina in 5 years?
Oh, so the August 10th meeting, that's the last one of the forums that they're going to have. They had them in 3 separate locations, so to kind of everybody can get there. And I know most of us hunters band together and wanted to attend all of them, but there was not enough seating for everybody to get in, so they turning people away. And the venues they've selected only house so many people. And but the hunters are showing up in force. They're showing support. So the August 10th meeting.
But with that being said, that speaks volume too, though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the people inside do know.
Oh, yeah.
There's somebody coming
know.
up to them and saying, "Hey, there's 300 people outside." I mean, like that speaks volumes too. I didn't want to cut you off, but I did. But that does speak volumes too. You know,
it does. It does. And luckily, from what I saw, some of our best and brightest were speaking. Because when there's a hurricane, they get Sally out there to, but
I'm gonna be that person one day.
I'm
gonna get interviewed. Yeah, I wish that Steven would have gave me my crock pot back. He took my crock pot down there. He never brought it back. I hope he stumps his toe. I want my crock pot back.
Yeah, I like a good crock pot. Now don't fight with me on that. But luckily, some of our best and brightest spoke, and they really articulated their thoughts. And I think it drove home a lot of good things, a lot of good points. The where I see us in 5 years is tough. My club just got a railroad put right through the middle of it, a railroad track.
Mm-hmm.
Does that mean more industries coming? It's hard to say because I'm right beside Volvo. Luckily for me, Volvo plant is beside me is their electric car factory, and as we all know, electric cars are kind of fading to the wayside, so to speak. So maybe that'll help me. But as fast as growth goes, I think 30 people a day move to Berkeley County. 30 people a day. And you figure 5 years, that's a lot of people. That's over 1,000 a year, 5,000. So they have to have homes for them. Expansion and money drives this, and it's pushing us way, way, way out of Berkeley County. They're building new power lines, new power plants, not plants, but sub plants. Mm-hmm. Everywhere you look, there's signs up for new industry coming. I hope it's still around in 5 years in Berkeley County, but I would say it's slim. it's a slim chance that there's going to be enough property. We're already overburdening these properties with as many people. One, the price to lease it is outrageous. You have to have bukus of members,
Mm-hmm.
and now you got people on top of each other. So in 5 years, I hope it's still here. But let me rephrase this: the last 5 years, I was told it weren't going to be here. So maybe the next 5 years will be the same. Maybe it'll continue. And if we start policing ourselves, and we start honoring the neighbor, and we start stopping these dogs like we're supposed to, I think that we got a fighting chance in 5 years. I really
Yeah.
do. I think the problem is our youth. Our youth are not getting out and hunting. We're losing hunters every day. It's becoming a dying art.
Mm-hmm.
These kids, especially in the still hunt world, these kids don't want to climb up a tree and get hot no more. They'd rather watch their video games. They don't. It's a different breed. Dog hunt's a little different because we can make that child get in that car seat with us, and once they see the excitement in them dogs, it's a little different.
Mm-hmm.
But we are losing hunters, even probably in the waterfowl, that from the youth. So
And I
I
talk
don't really
about
know the answer.
a lot on my channel. There's so many people like you saying about the youth. I preach that all the time. I'm like, we as duck hunters, like, look at that young boy going through there with the mud motor and music playing. Has
Mm-hmm.
anybody even talked to that guy? Like, has a older person told him,
Yeah.
you're scaring the duck. Like, had that conversation.
Right.
The same
Right.
hunters don't want to have the conversation with the rest of the hunters. And
Yep.
these
Yep.
younger generations, the older people look at them and like, they're going to kill the sport. You ever thought about mentoring to the younger generation? Like, and I say it all the time, meet the people at the boat ramp, talk to them. I know it's a little bit different deer hunting, and I know it's a lease, but on the public land, like you said, you met so many new people. Like, hey,
Yep.
you go up to them and talk to them. You never know the friendship that you might make. And I say this all the time, especially hunters. There are so many smart. I know they're women too, but there are so many smart men out there that if apocalypse came, you want him on your team because they are
Oh
just
yeah.
that good. But
Right.
when that person dies, that knowledge is going with him because he
Did he
doesn't
pass
tell
it right?
anybody. He didn't pass it to anybody. And I'm not saying pass on your secret location. I'm not saying that at all. But
There ain't nothing no secret no more.
there might be a little few spots, but there's so many people that don't pass on knowledge.
Yep.
We
Yep.
don't. And I
They want to
mean,
hold it on. They want to be the smartest guy in the room.
yeah,
Uh, you know, One thing I encourage my members to do: bring kids. They don't have to be your kids, even if they're kids in school. The only requirement I have is if they come hunting for free, because they're welcome to come hunt for free, even if they ain't our members' kids, they just have to ride with a member. That's it. I don't want them driving because they don't know the areas,
right.
they don't know the neighbors. So if any kids that want to hunt, they get with a member and come hunt for free. I don't charge a kid. I don't charge women either. If a spouse or a lady wants to come hunt, more than welcome. Um, I encourage it. You know what I mean? I encourage kids because that's what's going to keep us around, and they need to learn the right way. They need to learn how it can be done properly. And I look at it as a teaching moment for even when I get a new member that's never dog hunted. I put him in the vehicle with me. I say, "You ride with me for a while and let's learn some stuff. Let me teach you how it's supposed to be done. Let me teach you that it's not about that deer. It's about these dogs, and it's about keeping them safe during this whole hunt and making sure the members have a good time. That's what
Right.
it's about." And I've had great success with young folks doing that. A lot of them, still with me today, but a lot of people don't want to take the time with these youth. A lot of people just want to come out, do what they do, and go home. And
And like you
it's a
said
shame.
earlier, the world's a faster pace. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
oh my gosh! I mean, you think the '80s that we grew up in, if you got to play a sport, you got one sport. Now my
Yep.
kids, hey, he's playing every season a different sport. Some of that stuff we put
Yep.
on ourselves too, and we don't slow
Mama's
down.
stressed out.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
So
It's wide open.
final thoughts for everybody watching. I know you said in a couple weeks is going to be the final meeting. Let's
Mm-hmm.
get back on after that meeting and talk and see what come up about
Sure.
that. But what's your final thoughts for everybody watching?
The final thoughts, in my opinion, would be honor your neighbor, do what's right, even when nobody's watching.
Mm-hmm.
If you can and you can afford the Garmins, you need to get them and you need to get your dogs right, or we're gonna be losing this sport very quickly.
All right, this is some rapid fire questions, not mostly strictly dog deer hunting, but what's your favorite
Sure.
deer rifle?
That would be a 270. I don't care the model.
270 is pretty nice. I like 270s and 30-06.
Yep, 30 is
So
tough.
you got the caliber. What brand? Any particular
If I
brand?
was to shoot, it would be a Browning Hell's Cannon. That's what I like. The Browning Gold Trigger. That's my go-to.
Yeah. So
It's
morning,
the Hell's Canyon, I think they call it. Yep, that's
morning
tough.
or evenings hunts?
For still hunting, I
Any
prefer
kind,
a evening
anything. What do
hunt.
you
I
what do
like it.
you what do you
Well,
enjoy?
dog hunting's morning because that's when the dew's fresh and the dogs can smell it.
Mm.
But still hunting, I prefer to sit in the evenings.
All right. Biggest buck.
200 plus pounds, probably 130, somewhere
Okay.
around 125, something like that. I have never had him scored. I had Facebook tell me what they thought he was, but somewhere between 115, 120, somewhere in there. And proud of him.
Hey,
Yeah.
I have to say, this deer antler, this buck behind me, was my
Mm-hmm.
first buck I've ever shot at 41.
But that's why you don't like deer
At
hunting no more
41.
because you already capped out.
At 41.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but all right. So what
Some
would
of us
be?
peak later than others.
Maybe that's what I should tell. My body's still peaking. It ain't finished. So what would be one of the biggest hunting mistakes you ever made?
Ew.
I
Garmin,
know.
I mean, Tacticam cameras. When I lost the joy of hunting when I learned what's there and what ain't there.
Mm.
You used to sit with that anticipation that monster was going to walk out. Now you know he's what's there and you know what ain't. And if there ain't nothing in the woods, you don't even have the drive to go anymore.
I could that would be, I would say, probably not fully understanding the rules and regulations. But like you were saying on
Educate yourself on that.
the tree camera. Now I had Gray Pro send me a camera system. It works off of Wi-Fi, and I got it on a tree.
Uh-huh.
It's not that one above us. It's a different one. And I did a whole video on it, and it works off Wi-Fi. But like you said, it has a feature on there that I could tell it to take however many pictures I want every hour on the day. So I could see without ever going into the woods which way the sun is facing. Like I can scope out.
Yep.
It almost takes out going to do the hard work. I can say, okay, every hour take a picture and I can see where the sun is. I can see where the shades are. Like I can see where you're talking about that, because that almost takes like the fun out of it. Like
Takes the hunting out of it. In my opinion, when you did it the old school way, that 4-point, that 6-point, he meant more then. Because you put in the work. Now you know he's coming every day at 5:30. You know he's coming to get the corn an hour after you put it out. It's taken it took the enjoyment out of still hunting for me. It really did, because I knew it was there. So it's hard because you want those technological advancements, but it really kills the sport.
It does.
My opinion.
I can see that. What would be one piece of gear that you never leave home without? And if it's deer
My
hunting,
Alpha.
deer hunting or turkey hunting for me is definitely the darn, my mind went blank. The my mosquito oh my gosh. Thermocell, thank you. When you're doing things live, there is no edit. There's no, hey, don't make me look like an idiot. Live is,
if you have a brain fog, it gets you. But
absolutely.
it would
What would you
definitely be
take?
dog hunting. Would be my tracking collars and my Garmin. And I've actually went home because I have a screen on my. It's called the Tread XL. It's a big screen like a monitor. It goes in my windshield. All it does is monitor my handheld. The screen goes up there, and I can see in real time HD video where my dogs are at all times.
That's
And
pretty
I
cool.
went home to get that when I've forgotten it. And those items I would never, because I would never put my dog in harm's way by not having my Garmin Alphas and my tracking systems.
So what you're saying is you're almost like the new bass fishermen that have the 30-inch TVs
Yeah,
up on the,
the
you know,
live
the
scope,
the
right?
live scope is bigger than the
Yep.
console. The bass
I believe
fishermen
that live
now,
scope's going to mess up fishing for the
I
people too.
I agree. Just like you were
You
saying,
know,
technology could be good, it could be bad, but you know, it
Yep.
almost comes down to the, hey, I want to go to a bass tournament that has no electronics. You
I
know,
would
just
say I'm too good to use one, but I really mean that I'm not educated enough to use one.
hey, I can't afford one.
Yeah, I believe I would have that advancement too, because I get tired of going fishing and not catching.
All right,
You
last
know,
question. One
but
thing every new hunter should know.
well, that would be your answer. Regulations.
Yeah.
In a dog hunting world, I want my hunters to know that it's not about the deer hunting; it's about the camaraderie, and I want them to enjoy that part. And don't make hunting a job. It's there for relaxation, and it can easily turn into a job if you let it.
Mhm. Yeah, I could see that. Don't try to take the fun out of it either.
Yep.
You know, a lot of
Yep.
times, even in the waterfowl community, you know, so many times we talk about let's don't do the pile photos
Yep.
because you missing out so much if you just
Mm,
trying to make it on social media with the big pile photo. The same way with the
mm.
what you were saying with the big deer. You know, if some guy's got this massive 10 point, he's going to pass up so many other deers just to get to that one, and usually a
I'm guilty
coyote will
of it.
get it.
My first year as a club president, I overpoliced it bad. I wanted to do good so bad that I let it affect people having fun.
Right.
And I had to be reeled back in. I had to be humbled. I had to eat a little bit of pie, eat humble pie. But I was
That's some
taking the
nasty
fun out of it.
stuff.
I'm telling you, I was taking the fun out of it for my other hunt masters and my vice presidents and stuff. So I had to be reeled back in because you can easily over police something, and that was I'm guilty of that 100%.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you coming on. I know it was a spur in the
Thank you.
moment, but it's definitely a hot topic right now. It's something that's going to have to be talked about. And like I said, we losing land to houses. You losing it to deer hunting. We losing it on the lakes. I mean, people won't.
Yeah,
They want their house on the lake, which then
I've been
takes.
seeing a lot of that.
Yeah, I mean, you look at it. Santee wasn't Santee 20 years ago. Santee's different. Man, all these marshes. I mean, look like they just filling up marshes and building houses. But
Yeah, they are. They're filling in swamps and building for
yeah,
sure.
you know,
You know. So,
50 years ago it was rice. They ain't did rice. I mean, there's just a few rice plantations, but
yep,
them days are gone.
they're
But,
gone. That's right.
but
It's leaving us, and if we don't do something to
you
keep the heritage, it's going to be gone,
know,
and we're going to be telling stories about it.
you know.
Yep.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate everybody
Absolutely.
tuning
Thanks for
in.
having me.
Like I said, we'll talk again after this last
Sure.
meeting, and I know just by what I'm reading on social media, things are coming out about it, good, bad. Like you said, things are going to change. Um, I don't know when they're trying to. They can't do it this year because obviously it's already started. Well, I mean, technically, it's the state; they can do anything they want to. But this season probably is going to be the same as last year.
I think any changes you see will probably be instituted within the next 3 years. That's what
Yeah,
I assume.
right,
You know, I the worst thing you can do is hastily jump into something.
right. Because it's
You
going to
know,
be hard to
so
backtrack.
yep,
You know,
that's right. But we'll see. You know, hopefully everything works out for everybody. And if you believe in the Lord, you know what happens is meant to be. So we'll see what happens.
absolutely, absolutely. And ain't nothing we can do but enjoy the outdoors, and that's where I was fixing to go to. You have never been on before. Typically I close in prayer and stuff like
Sure.
that. You can stay if you want.
Yep,
But
let's do it.
I always try to come up with a topic, and something I picked today was like Psalms 121. I lift my eyes up to the mountains. Where does my help come from? My help comes from the Lord, the maker of the heavens and the earth. And I tell people that all the time. I overlook the sunrises. I overlook what God has provided me Monday through Friday.
Yep.
And when hunting season comes around, that's where I see it. I mean, it's unreal. And you know, I said I wasn't a deer hunter, but I mostly go to get out there in the woods, to get along, be with nature, hear the sounds. It starts building me up. When September comes around, it's dove season, then goose season, and then deer season. It gets me back out in nature. And my wife knows, hey, you need a little time out in the woods. You need a little nature time.
We
And
weren't made to stay in the house,
no, we were not. We wasn't.
so it definitely brings your mental
Yeah,
and your physical back the way it's supposed to be,
absolutely.
and your spiritual.
Yeah. So on my channel, I talk a lot about my family, and if a lot of my viewers are watching, they know my wife has had cancer, and next week she goes back for her first year scan. So I definitely will be asking for prayers on that. But
Absolutely.
I'm gonna close this in prayer. Our Heavenly Father, thank you so much for everything that you give us. Thank you so much for the blessings. Thank you for sending your son to die on the cross. Be with our military as they're overseas. Protect them. Give them extra protection. Protect their families while they're here. So give them a comfort that they know that you're taking care of their families. Be with the people that's having to work during all these storms, all these rain. Be with our DOT, our EMS and fire. Protect them. Bring them back home. Be with our linemen. Be with the people providing services that they're leaving their house to go and take care of others. Protect them. Bring them home safely. And thank you for giving us the outdoors. Thank you for showing us all the beauties and all the things that you give us. And thank you for everything you do. In Jesus' name, amen. Well, Stephen, I appreciate you coming on. Like I said, in a couple of weeks, we'll have you back on. And all the
Sure.
people that join, hey, maybe in 3 weeks, we'll have something new to talk about. And hopefully, and in a week or so, I will give some news that hopefully she is definitely still cancer free. So, but you
That'd be
never know.
awesome.
You never know. And you know what you were talking about earlier, the friendship and the families. You know, as hunters, we really don't. We try not to even like. Deer hunting is different. I will say deer hunting is different than duck hunting. Duck hunting, me and you could be in a blind, and I could say, Stephen, how's work going, man? You know, we could talk. Where deer hunting, it is a little bit quieter. Now, granted, running dogs, you can at least carry on conversation. But you know, as
Yeah, we
hunters,
get a little rowdy.
right? As hunters, I do think we need to, you know, check on our own people a little bit more. You know,
I agree.
get a little bit more personal with them. But
Yep. Get to know them. That's right.
you know,
Know what's going on in their families. You can see if something's off if you know your friends. So
exactly. And you know, as men, we tend to try to keep that in and try not to, you know, is that
yep.
right? It probably ain't. We probably should be a little bit more emotional and caring for our other person too. Like you said, when somebody's off, you should recognize it and say, hey,
Yep.
you might not want to talk about it, but I'll just come sit beside you. And
Share that sweet tea and that piece of cake that Todd talked about.
man, that's what I'm talking about. All right. Well, I appreciate it. And I appreciate everybody tuning in. And I'll see y'all next Wednesday at 8 o'clock. So here's a word from our sponsors. Matthew Knight with Satura Investors out of Charlotte. There's the information. The link to his website is scrolling across the banner down at the bottom, and it's also in the description. Today's episode is about helping business owners and working professionals like you who share a passion for the outdoors shooting sports, zeroing them in to their long-term financial goals. So if you need any information or contact or any other questions, contact Matthew. Flint Ridge Hauling Service, LLC, has partnered up with the channel. It is your go-to provider for all your hauling needs. They are not just any hauling service. They are an active DOT interstate hotshot hauling provider. Flint Ridge Service LLC prides itself in its reliable transportation services. This team ensures that your cargo is delivered safely and on time no matter the distance. Whether you need to transport goods across the county or state line, they have the capacity and the expertise to meet your hauling needs. Equipped with a smooth riding 40-foot air ride equipped trailer and a max hauling capacity of 20,000 pounds, there's no load too big or too small that they can't handle. Look no further than Flint Ridge Hauling Service LLC.